So, how many of you have family properties which are still in the name of your grandparents?
Or, worse, how about great-grandparents?
Yeah. And how many of you are worried that the government will charge you so much in back taxes and fees?
Marami rin yan.
Marami yan. Now, how many of you would like to get all of these issues settled legally with the most minimum taxes?
Yan ang pinakamarami.
Yun ang marami.
Now, day in and day out, we see this. Families don't transfer their properties from their parents or grandparents because they're all afraid of how much it will cost. So what happens? Many times, they ignore the issue or they leave the problem to the next generation. Usually, some of the kids from the next generation, they go abroad, build their lives there, and only deal with the problem when there is someone offering them to buy the property here in the Philippines. And this is exactly the situation of one of our readers, Elaine G.
Hi, Elaine.
And she asks, Attorney, my mom and her siblings inherited property from our deceased lolo sometime in 2001. It was our ancestral home located in a town center. They didn't do anything to transfer the title to them. They recently decided to sell the property and got a very good offer. We found out that we still need to pay estate taxes from when my lolo died. This is potentially very big since he died in 2001. Is there any way to get a discount or some consideration from the tax? My mom is currently living in the US and had no idea that this needed to be paid at the time. It seems unfair that we will now have to pay this. Is there something that we can bring or ask the BIR to do to get any discounts or deductions? If you or anyone in your family is in a similar situation as Elaine, stay tuned.
This video was brought to you by the Estate Settlement Guide, the fastest way to orient surviving family members when a loved one passes away. You will learn the basics of succession to know who can inherit and how much. It will guide you through the next steps your family needs to take so you don't incur penalties and you transfer the property to the heirs properly. Protect your family legacy. Avoid unnecessary penalties. Go to info.legalguide.ph/estate to learn more.
Welcome to Legal Guide Philippines, where we simplify the law to help you make better choices. I'm Attorney Erwin Zagala, and I'm with my partner,
Attorney Ramon Ramirez.
So today, we're talking about situations where the estate tax has not been paid for so long, and it's possible to get a discount from this tax. Is it possible to get some consideration from the government? So, Attorney Ramon, can Elaine get a discount?
Okay, so to answer the short answer to your question, whether or not Elaine can get the discount is no. Well, at least it's not that automatic that you can just get, no? Hindi parang tiangge na you can just go to the tiangge and say,
Suki!
Pwede bang ito na lang? Babangan natin. Less 30%. You can do that. No? That's not a thing. Please take that out of your heads. So let's start first with the context. What happened to Elaine's, what's happening in Elaine's story? So her lolo died around 2001, tama? Yung mga anak niya, or yung mga tita niya, tita ni Elaine, tito-tita, they inherited the property.
Okay? Kasama yung mom.
Kasama yung mom ni Elaine. Okay? And then, the estate needed to be paid, the estate tax needed to be paid before matransfer yung properties in the name of the children.
Yes.
Okay? So, that's a rule, no? Before anything is transferred in the name of the heirs or yung children, dapat mabayaran yung estate tax. Very clear. So, but did they do this? No, they didn't do anything. No, so around 20 years passed. Estate still needed to be settled. So ano nangyari in that 20 years? What was the effect? Well, the effect was tumakbo yung penalties. Okay. During this time, you will have automatically a 25% surcharge at least, and you will have an interest already of 20% per annum. Now, anong effect ng 20% per annum, Attorney Erwin? That means that in every 5 years, nadodoble yung dapat yung bayaran ng tax.
Bigat pala.
Bigat. Now, let's say, let's put a concrete example. If they were supposed to pay estate tax of 1 million in 2001, just based on the 20% interest alone, every 5 years, nagbabayad siya ng additional 1 million. Okay? So, ngayon, right now, let's say 20 years past, that's times 5 na. Diba? So 1 million times 4 years of interest. 4 years of nadoble yung interest.
Now, for some families, that may not be an issue kasi malaki naman yung asset base.
Yes.
Pero not for everyone.
Exactly. Okay, so more or less, this is ito na yung effect. And this is why Elaine is concerned. Because malaki na yung penalties niya. Alright? So, in addition to yung surcharge and yung interest, you also have what you call compromise penalties. Now, what are compromise penalties? These are a list of penalties by the BIR. Basically, sinasabi niya, instead of us filing a case against you in court for the violations of the tax code, just pay us compromise penalties. So that's an additional penalty. So talagang it's really concerning for Elaine. All right? Now, what's the next part of the facts natin? There's a buyer. He's ready to buy the property na nila. But of course, being a buyer, he wants to make sure that there are no further obligations on the property that he's going to buy. Diba? Wala na siyang additional na babayaran pag binili niya yan. That's why he wants na-transfer na sana yung property in the name of the heirs.
Tama naman.
For
his safety.
Yes. Okay? And of course, one of the main concerns of Elaine here is maybe if we pay the tax as it is now, might be even worth more than the property itself. So parang, is this still going to be a good deal? So probably not. Let's see. No? Now, kaya siguro Elaine is asking, baka naman pwede mag-discount, attorney. Pwede bang pa-cancel na lang natin yung penalties man lang. Alright? This usually happens whenever we deal with estate settlement cases. There's always that request to cancel the penalties.
Parang ugaling Pinoy na eh.
Right.
Kasama.
Okay. But again, to clarify what I said earlier, there's no such thing as asking for a discount on the ground of consideration lang, please. Okay? So we can't demand that of the government as a matter of right. Okay? We can request, definitely, but it's not something you can demand as a matter of right, especially if the non-payment was caused by, let's say, negligence or kapabayaan. Now, in this case, that's the interpretation kasi, Attorney Erwin, kapabayaan siya, no? We understand that Elaine's mom didn't know, or Elaine's aunties and uncles did not know that it had to be paid, but as they say, ignorance of the law excuses no one. So this is how our laws are set up right now. Maybe in the future it will be changed, but for now that is her reality. All right? Of course, we said na we can't ask for a discount as a matter of right, but under the tax code there are concepts such as a compromise or abatement. Okay, and you can find that in the tax code. What is compromise? You can ask for a compromise or a lowering of the tax if on certain grounds, like let's say there's doubtful validity of the assessment, meaning parang hindi sure si BIR and hindi rin sure si taxpayer kung tama ba dapat yung pag impose ng tax.
Tamang duda
o kaduda-duda na so baka pwede tayo humingi ng compromise or financial incapacity of the taxpayer. Parang kahit ibenta po namin yung buong negosyo, hindi po namin kayang bayaran yan. Pwede yan, you can ask for a compromise there. And abatement, there are also grounds for that, like if there's unjust or excessive yung tax, or the cost of collection doesn't make sense to the government. Okay? In this case, I don't see these things happening. Siguro, at the most, we can ask for a compromise on the grounds of financial incapacity. But even then, this is something that we really, really, really have to prove to the BIR. So you don't just put it in a form and say, we're financially incapable.
Hindi basta-basta.
No, it has to be proved. Okay? But, okay, so if compromise probably won't work and abatement will definitely not work, meron naman tayong good news, Attorney Erwin. Ano yung good news na yan?
Tingin ko, yung tax amnesty.
Yes! Okay, and this is the point of today's episode. Alright? So, good news is we have a tax amnesty. So, pag-usapan natin, ano ba yung tax amnesty? Ano ba yung concept ng tax amnesty na yan? Alright. So, in a nutshell, tax amnesty is a way for mga taxpayers na hindi nakapagbayad or yung mga nagkamaling taxpayers to wash away their sins.
Parang confession pala.
Parang ganun yan, okay? So, well, tax-wise, no? Not all your sins, just your tax sins. Yan. And it's an opportunity to start fresh. Okay? And how does this happen? Usually, the taxpayer typically enjoys some things like, number one, erasing of the penalties and interest. Wow.
Napaka-ginhawa niyan
Yes.
for families like Elaine.
Yeah, and in our example, wow, erasing the penalties and interest, talagang malaking bagay, di ba? All right, simplified computation of the amnesty. Kaya hindi na nila pa hihirapan pa kayo in terms of how to compute the amnesty. And exemption from further investigation. So hindi na kayo hahabulin ng BIR or ng government.
Tapos na, quits na tayo.
Quits na tayo. Okay na. Yan ang amnesty.
Pero Attorney Ramon, lumalabas parang sobrang bait naman ng program na to. Parang wala man lang kapalit.
Actually, yeah. So, good question, Attorney Erwin. It's not a get out of jail free card. Okay? Taxpayers who avail of the amnesty, they will have to pay an amnesty settlement amount. Okay? So, to be able to enjoy the benefits. So,
kumbaga, may bayad.
May bayad.
May kapalit.
Yes. Hindi na lang siguro kasing bigat nung
malayo
babayaran
siguro
nila. Pero meron pa rin. Okay? So, now the tax amnesty or a tax amnesty is usually passed as a law. Batas siya.
So, hindi BIR ang nagsabi. Parang trip ko mag-amnesty ngayon.
No,
hindi
it is our legislative department. Okay?
And then parang inuutusan si BIR, implement this.
Yes. Okay. So, once the law comes out, sa BIR being of the executive branch of government, siya ang taga-implement ng batas. Clear ba tayo?
That's very clear. Okay. Attorney Ramon, ako naman biglang may naisip. Bakit naman gagawin ng government to? What's in it for the government?
Yeah, so that's a good question, Attorney Erwin. Parang, what's in it for us? Diba? Why give the taxpayers any amnesty at all? Diba? Tingin mo, galing ba sa kabaitan nila?
Could be, partially, but I'd like to think that there's a more practical reason behind it.
And there is, Attorney Erwin, that's correct. No? So, we at Legal Guide, we'd like to think of a tax amnesty as a beautiful win-win or positive win-win scenario. Okay, so let me explain. The government needs funds, tama?
Yes.
Because it has this enormous machinery, it needs funds. And where do these funds come from, Attorney Erwin?
Taxes,
correct. Taxes, customs duties, the fees that they ask of us. Yan, dyan nanggagaling yung pampalakad nila, yung machinery nila. And where do these taxes come from?
Well, it comes from the citizens.
Yes, correct. It comes from the people. Individuals like you and me, corporations, businesses, yan. These are the people who pay taxes. And in the Philippines, our system of paying taxes is what we call the mechanism of self-declaration. Anong ibig sabihin ng self-declaration? It means that it is the taxpayer who is responsible for computing, filing, and paying the tax. Okay, so nasa sa atin lahat, tayong mag-declare sa government kung ano yung dapat natin bayaran.
So ikaw na yung magbabayad, ikaw pa nag-prepare?
Yes. Okay. So that is our mechanism. Now, hopefully it changes sometime soon, but it is what it is right now. Okay. Now, if tayo nag-prepare or yung individual taxpayer nagpe-prepare, since our tax laws are not simple, what will happen?
Well, hindi naman mga professional lahat ng citizens in preparation of taxes. Malamang may mga mali.
Yes, correct. Diba? So errors are sure to happen. And when this happens, or not just errors, sometimes because self-declaration, hindi po, not everyone is honest, right? Or may nangangailangan, some taxpayers may try to cheat on their taxes.
Declare mo na lang kalahati dyan.
Ay, nako, yan. Or some taxpayers may not even know that they had to pay taxes. Remember, there's this all big hula-baloo about influencers and paying taxes, or online sellers paying taxes as if it's a big deal that hindi nila alam that they should have been paying taxes to the government, di ba?
Actually, nagulat ako doon, parang gulat na gulat sila. But as lawyers kasi, we know that
they should be paying taxes. Really. It's not
hindi bago yan.
Yeah. All right. So what happens if you have these errors, people cheat on their taxes and they don't declare their taxes? Of course, this means that leads to lower government revenue, which is not good because yun nga, they have an enormous machinery to kailangan palakarin. Now, to plug this hole, what happens? The government has to go back now and conduct investigations or tax audits against yung mga taxpayers niya.
Hahabulin pa ng gobyerno
Yes.
pa isa-isa.
Exactly. Now, the government cannot audit all taxpayers. No, there's just too many taxpayers and too little of them. Okay, so also these investigations, they take way too long. Okay, and it takes a lot of effort, time to conduct these investigations. Okay, now again, this situation, this taking too long and the inability to audit everyone, this equates to a lot of lost revenue again for the government. Okay, so na-set up ko na, di ba?
Yes.
Yan naman yung side ng government. On the other hand, taxpayers who made errors or maybe who cheated at one point or another dahil nangailangan, they're always on edge and they're afraid to face what may come, di ba? In terms of yung mga penalties. Okay? Enter the win-win scenario, Attorney Erwin. This is, now, the win-win scenario is, nag-create sila ng concept ng tax amnesty, wherein the government says, okay, hindi ko na kayo iimbestigahan, erase all your sins, just pay me a minimum amount. Yun. Diba? Okay. So, on the one hand, the government is able, because of the surge of mga estate settlements, the government is able to get more collection. Instead of yung hindi nila makollect before dahil nagtatago, di ba? Ngayon, people will come forward and they will avail of the tax amnesty and they'll get ma-absuelto naman sila.
Kumbaga, kesa wala.
Yes, exactly.
Bawasan na lang natin yung mga penalties. May makolekta tayo. Kesa wala.
Yes.
At nagtatago yung mga tao.
Correct. Okay. So it's such a beautiful system. I think it's a win-win, and I'm really happy that the government does this from time to time. All right. So now clear na tayo of what is tax amnesty. Now, what are the benefits of this tax amnesty? So first, let's understand what is the current estate tax amnesty that we have right now. No. So remember, guys, the basic rule is that when a person dies, what do we call the person who dies, Attorney Erwin?
We call it the decedent.
The decedent, tama. And an estate, so when a person dies, his estate must, the estate tax must be paid to the government before any of his properties can be legally transferred to his heirs.
Yes.
Okay. So,
if you need a review, we have a lot of other videos on that. Just type estate.
Going to www.legalguide.ph. Yan. So, families with unsettled estates due to unpaid estate tax can benefit from this amnesty program. Okay? So, and finally, since hindi nila nabayaran yung estate tax before, now they can finally transfer their properties to the right heirs. Isn't that a great idea? Win-win situation. Okay. So, the basis of our estate tax amnesty is RA or Republic Act 11213. Okay? And it was implemented by the BIR.
Ang ganda ng tunog ng number, parang hotline.
Parang hotline, yeah. 11213. 11213. All right. So, and the BIR implemented this through Revenue Regulation 6-2019. Take a look at it, guys. And there's a note here pala, no? Under the law, our tax amnesty is only for 2 years. Okay? And that 2 years, it naglapse na siya nung June 14, 2021.
Naku, paano yun, Attorney Ramon? Naglapse na pala.
Okay, don't worry, guys, because we will be talking about it later. This was extended.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
But wait, there's more.
There's more. Okay, this was extended. Now, let's go to the benefits. Similar to what we talked about kanina, when you pay the tax amnesty settlement amount, so yun yung parang minimum na babayaran, of course, guys, you'll need to use a specific form. You just don't go to the BIR and
pabayad po.
Yeah, ito po yung bayad. No. There's a form that you have to fill up, and you'll probably need somebody to help you fill that up. Okay, but just know that there's a form called the Estate Tax Amnesty Return or ETAR. Okay, once a taxpayer pays this amount and complies with certain conditions under the rules, the decedent's estate tax will now be considered finally settled.
Yun.
Okay, so wala nang utang ang heirs or ang estate sa government. Okay, another benefit is that the estate will no longer be required to pay the estate tax na regular rate. Okay, and why is this awesome? Kasi the estate, if you're gonna pay it now, estate tax, it would have been based on yung the higher graduated rate, yung 20%, a maximum of 20%. So essentially, the heirs will get a huge discount because they will now just be paying 6%.
Oh, layo, no?
Yes, all right. So guys, please avail of this. And
kumbaga parang while supplies last,
Yeah.
avail.
yes, kasi before time runs out, right?
Uh-huh.
And it's actually the reason why they extended it. No? And lastly, the penalties are waived. So ito na,
Laking
Elaine.
bagay nito.
Ito na, Elaine. This is the answer to your question.
Ito na yung tawad na hinahanap mo.
Yes. The government will waive your penalties. So please avail of it. All right. Meron pa palang meron pang isang benefit under our tax amnesty, and that the estate will be immune from all civil, criminal, and administrative cases.
Ay, wow.
Okay? So also, ang okay dyan, if you avail of the estate tax amnesty, availing of it will not be treated as an admission.
Ah, wow.
Yeah, kasi 'di ba parang pwede nilang sabihin na kaya kayo nag-file ng
Kasi
amnesty.
tinago nyo yan
Kasi
dati.
no such thing under the law itself. No, it will not be treated as an admission.
Quits na tayo.
Wait. All right. So, very clear ba tayo on
Yes.
estate tax? Okay, let's go to our last question. Now, who are qualified and who are not qualified? Now, sige. Who are qualified? Estates or decedents who died on or before December 31, 2017.
Okay.
Okay? Anyone who died before this date or on or before this date, covered yan ng ating estate tax amnesty.
Okay.
Those who died after this date, unfortunately, hindi po tayo covered ng estate tax amnesty. Okay? Let's be clear. And that is the basic, qualification for being able to avail of the benefits of the tax amnesty. What's the date to remember, Attorney Erwin? December 31.
Nabigla naman ako. 2017.
Yes, ayan. Okay. Pero also, there are also other people who are disqualified or other estates who are disqualified. Let's say, first is delinquent estate tax liabilities which have become final and executory. So, meaning, tapos na siya. Hindi na siya pending. Okay? So, pag yan, hindi na qualified yan. Properties which are involved in pending court cases. So, hindi rin kasama yan, guys. Any properties falling under the jurisdiction of the PCGG or the Presidential Commission on Good Government. Okay, ito yung mga hidden wealth yata to, di ba? Okay, those properties that are involved in unexplained or unlawfully acquired wealth. Yan, hindi rin kasama yan. Usually ito yung mga anti-money laundering and crime of plunder. Yan. Those involving tax evasion and other criminal offenses under the tax code, hindi rin kasama. So please just be aware of that. And also those that involve felonies or frauds. Okay? Like malversation of public funds. Hindi rin po kasama yan. And you can see that in our law. Alright? And lastly, sabi natin kanina that this deadline was extended, Attorney Erwin. It was June 14 up to June 14, 2021. Now, under a new law, 11569, or Republic Act 11569, it is now
extended
to June 14, 2023.
Wow.
Nice. Okay, so hope that's good news for you.
It is, but that doesn't give you the license to be complacent.
Yes, please. Wag na niyong ubusin yung oras. All right.
So let's do a recap, Attorney Ramon. Well, we talked about the concept of the tax amnesty and we presented it as a win-win scenario. Actually, kitang-kita naman na everybody benefits. Next is we talked about the benefits of the tax amnesty. Nako, sandamakmak po, tanggal ang penalty, iba yung computation, immune from suit. You'll just have to look at the law for the whole list.
Yes.
Number 3 is who are qualified and who are not. Take note of the dates, di ba? December 31, 2017. And before that, yun po yung pasok. And finally, what's the deadline? Ito po yung bagong deadline, extended by 2 years. It's June 14, 2023.
For most of you, this lesson was more than enough. And if it makes your life easier, then you're welcome. But there are some of you who will watch this episode and end up asking more questions like, Attorney, how does the payment of the tax amnesty fit in the estate settlement process? Or, Attorney, how do we compute the estate tax if there was no tax amnesty? No? Or another one is, attorney, how do we share in the property after we pay the taxes? So now if that's you, then we invite you to check out the Estate Settlement Guide workshop. It's a workshop, not a book. So in this workshop, we give you, in as little as 1 hour, we give you a crash course on succession law and a general roadmap of the entire estate settlement framework. Now, with this guide, you will know exactly where you are in the process, regardless of whether you are doing it on your own or if you have hired someone to assist you. Now, you can access this workshop at info.legalguide.ph/estate today.
Now, to add to that, if you want us to tackle your question in our show as we did for Elaine, go to www.legalguide.ph and click the Submit Topic button. Next, we'd like to know what's your biggest takeaway from today's video. So please write it down in the comments and let's talk about it. Last, if you feel we've earned a good rating, please give us a like and subscribe because it gives us feedback that we're doing a good job and it encourages us to do more videos.
One last thing. The Estate Tax Amnesty is definitely a big advantage that many of us can and should take advantage of. But instead of waiting for amnesties to fall from heaven and asking the government for discounts, maybe even using fixers, let's focus on complying with our tax laws like the estate tax. Now, how do we comply? We comply by arming ourselves with the very basic, or at least the very basic knowledge of our tax rules. The more we know, the more we can do what's right, and the better we can live our lives without worry. So wasn't that simple? Now go make better choices.